welcome back to the house on Onslow Street. You're with Laz, Ben, and Dickhead, otherwise known as Barbs.
Sailor Jerry.
And Sailor Jerry's, and a touch of Dry. Welcome to the first episode of the podcast.
Could be the final episode.
It could be. And we're talking about life's challenges. And I think we represent a really good cross-section of the world. I think. We don't at all.
Three Jews?
Three Jews from Perth.
Three Jews
Absolutely
sipping on
not.
our Bodum glass filled.
The tapestry of society here.
Indeed. But I think...
A lot of calls to question in this podcast.
Okay. But so we're having a dinner tonight together, as you do. And a challenge came up. First dates, cocktails. Or at least first dates drinks, or etiquette on first dates, if you like.
Elaborate. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm thinking about certain elements of a first date which are faux pas, or at least frowned upon on a first date. Now, for me, if you're taking someone on a first date, guy or girl, remember cross-section of the community.
Where do you take them? Where are you taking them? Paint me a word picture.
I'm taking them to a bar. Dinner's tough, because if you don't enjoy the person, you have to withstand them for 2 hours.
So bars your
but let's break it down. Really, it's the cost element.
Well,
I've got to eat. You've got to eat.
Well, Ben, okay, fine. You're right.
Yeah. So you take them to a bar because it's the cheapest option.
To what?
It's the cheapest option, so that's why you take them to a bar.
Well, correct. So let's work on that premise of the cheap option.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think she realises this at the time?
I think she understands it.
Do you think it's sort of a mutual understanding? We're going to a bar because we don't know each other. He doesn't want to spend much on me. He's paying tonight. So let's go to a neutral establishment, which would be reasonably cost effective.
That leads us beautifully into the next point.
Well,
I
think
ordering a cocktail appropriate for such an occasion.
What I would say.
Yes.
Why?
Why?
I would say no.
I'd say unless you stipulate.
Stipulate? How would you stipulate?
Before the date, you say, look, I don't know you, you don't know me, let's have a good time. But what I'm telling you is anything over $10 is off limits tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what stipulations is.
Play your cards right. Next date, maybe go to 15.
It's interesting you say that, because if she was to order one drink of the $10 variety,
yeah,
I would happily engage in more drinks.
Because
But if she were to order one drink of the $25 variety, no chance of more drinks. Because I'm put off by that. Ben?
it's a faux pas, and then you.
$25 is very. What kind of cocktail are we talking about? Most cocktails we're looking at are $18.
All right, $18, $18 to $25, anything in
Just
that
stop
range.
putting in the 25.
No.
Where is this 20? Which bar?
It's a slap in the
Which bar is $25?
Well, I've recently relocated from Melbourne.
Yeah.
But in Melbourne, a cocktail at Siglo's.
But
if you're taking someone to an establishment like Siglo's,
no one can see your inverted commas, Ben.
But does that?
then it's implied. But most beverages, if I'm not incorrect, are rather on the pricey side at Siglo's, which implies that you're looking to take her out for a good time, not a cheap time.
But does that include 3 shots of alcohol? Because then you're getting your money's worth.
Am I getting my money's worth?
I would think so. 3 shots of alcohol and then getting a bit
tipsy.
A bit tipsy.
bit tipsy top.
Well, it depends if that's the point of the evening. If I want to get to know her.
How'd you meet them? Tinder?
Well,
Blender? Grinder?
yes.
What would you like?
Generally Grinder, yes.
Well, of course you would, mate. Of course you would.
It's an efficient mechanism.
Well, it leads on to the subject of, do you put anything on the table at the beginning of the date? And the reason I ask that is I people watch. And I think you remember the one
your
date I was on.
excuse for being caught
No.
looking at other women on dates.
Incorrect.
No,
because
correct.
I'm gender agnostic.
No, you are not.
I'm actually...
Gender agnostic. Please explain that term.
Well, I stare at men, at women, at life, at action.
And you believe in none of them.
No, I just shut up.
No, I honestly think that's a crock of shit.
People
and
watch.
a very, very convenient thing to say when a woman thinks that you're staring at another woman. Because we went to a pub tonight, did we not? Mm-hmm. And you were caught staring at a tasty woman.
I wasn't.
And you weren't
The
caught
table
staring.
stopped.
You were not caught staring at a tasty man.
Mid-conversation, the table
I
stopped.
actually didn't see you stop staring at any man.
Ridiculous! Please, there was that one man.
Well, he was gorgeous.
He was stunning, I would say.
So it's irrelevant to this conversation.
So
You didn't talk about him liking it in the ass. You did talk about the girl like that.
Jesus, this is a family show.
Well, you didn't establish that.
Well, sorry, it's
Just being
established
real with
now.
people.
It's established now.
Honestly, that people start thinking, that's a crock of shit.
No, I like to.
No,
look at,
you don't. We're between friends here. That's a lie.
What,
that
am
you
I between
say
friends?
as an excuse to ogle at other women.
Okay, and subsequently, sorry.
Carry on with your thought.
Well, subsequently, it was. I thought it went well. In fact, we left the date stargazing. You know, with that app. You know the app that you can look at the stars.
Oh, literally stargazing.
It's literally stargazing, and you look in the app, and you can see what star signs there are.
Mm-hmm.
Sends me a text when I got home about how I was staring at other ladies, and she wouldn't see me again.
Is this the French girl?
No, it wasn't a French girl. It was a while ago.
Oh, okay.
American lady.
Okay.
But
So she called you out on that?
she did by text afterwards.
Good on her. Stop staring at other women on a date.
Please.
No.
Gemma would have been staring at other guys absolutely while you were on her first date.
She looks at the crotch of
What
the guys.
what conversation were you having with her on your first date?
I
Ridiculous.
asked her who do you think would win between a sperm whale and a giant squid.
First date, Barbs. First date.
It's a reasonable question.
What? Who would
Is it? Between a what?
sperm whale and a giant squid? They're known for having epic battles in the deep ocean.
They do, because sperm whales have come up with marks of giant squids
Correct,
on them.
like scratch marks.
So you know what? There's more evidence of the giant
The way
squid
you say
winning
it.
the battle, right? But I believe in the sperm whale because the sperm whale can dive deep. It can go to reef.
Correct. But would you see? Would there be? What evidence would we see if the sperm whale did indeed kill this giant squid?
Very little.
Well, surely the sperm whale would just place its tentaci
In the blowhole.
in the blowhole.
and drown it.
That wouldn't be the sperm whale that has tentaci. That would be the
No, the squid has the
the
tentacle.
squid has the
Yeah,
tentacle.
you
Yeah,
said-
and he
you said the
block-
sperm whale.
Yeah,
Block.
you've messed that up.
Sorry,
Yeah.
the squid would block the blowhole and kill this
That's
sperm
assuming
whale.
the squid
but they-
is
but
smart
they don't
enough to know to do that.
But they don't need to breathe all the time.
No, but if they could stick it in the blowhole and be there for maybe 5 to 10 hours, it's a slow drown. It's a slow drown. It's a very slow drown.
5 to 10 hours. Okay.
So if Laz and Ben were fighting, and Ben would just stick his fingers in Laz's nose for 5 to 10 hours.
Well,
You guys would drown.
Well, I like to explore the validity.
What happened to him? It's a clear case of drowning by the anus.
So
Correct, Ben.
I like to know
Laz would drown.
etiquette. No, etiquette. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. For those listening at home, this is ridiculous, right? I'd like to know etiquette of fighting. And this comes from...
I
because-
say anything goes. Street rules.
Well,
Who are you fighting with?
For those-
and what
for-
is the aim?
no.
I'm fighting Laz. We're on a beach.
We're on a beach, and it's not the nice type of liaison. It is aggressive.
It's aggressive. Right?
And for those listening at home, it was actually a setup fight. It wasn't
Spirit.
spontaneous.
So it wasn't organic.
No. It was very much
It was
very
like
much
Conor
planned.
McGregor against.
We had
So you knocked Laz out in 13 seconds.
no.
pretty much.
If defining knockout was to just deposit sand in the open mouth once he had.
So you're
Understood,
saying
he was
Ben
getting
took advantage of the elements around
He
him.
was he was
Correct.
He was starting to get dominated, and decided to be dirty.
I
Elements
could
around
have
him.
drowned him, but I decided not to put my finger in his anus.
I literally, I literally just exhaled, and then you shoved the sand in my mouth. Explain to me how that's.
Well, it's lucky that he let you exhale.
Moving back, the other question I asked Jem
Sorry.
on our first date was, what are the founding flavours of crisps?
Very interesting.
Because I say
Very.
The
interesting.
original. The original is.
Original.
The
Correct.
original
Or-
is just salt.
the salty one, obviously. Salt and vinegar, obviously, I believe.
All right, so the original.
Barbecue and chicken.
Chicken, I don't think so.
They're my 4. And then you got the fusion flavours coming in next.
We'll stick on
Like
salt and
this
onions.
Sweet.
Sweet and sour.
Well, would you say like
sour cream and onion.
sour cream and onion is
Chicken wasn't
after
there.
barbecue?
Absolutely.
Chicken? Chicken
No,
wasn't
I would
there.
say original. What did you say? Original.
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 Like a boraginon.
Salt. Yeah, exactly. Original salt and vinegar, cheese and onion.
No,
barbecue.
that's a fusion flavour.
Yeah.
Inherent in its name.
Why
Cheese
does
and onion.
why is
Fused.
it why does
That's
a
neat.
fusion flavour necessarily come after?
Because
any
the
other?
technology
irrelevant.
originally
It's
didn't have the ability to fuse flavours.
Oh, yes?
It doesn't necessarily
Mr.
mean like
Chip?
the
Do you know that,
technology to
Mr. Chip?
fuse flavours is more complex than the technology to make chicken flavoured chips.
Yes.
Well,
Because back in the
sure.
day, they used to dry chickens, crush them into a powder, and then sprinkle them on the crisp.
Interesting.
That's
Very interesting.
It
makes sense.
Little known fact.
It makes sense because you couldn't dry. What are we talking about? We couldn't dry two other flavors and then sprinkle them.
No, because when you
together.
put them together, it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Well,
right.
it does now, but when they were doing it back then, it was quite crude and it just wasn't quite working. So they just stuck with the original flavors and then the founding flavors, if you will, and then came through the fusion.
The founding flavors of chicken, barbecue, salt and vinegar, and oregano.
Indeed.
Okay.
That's what I believe.
All right. Well, on this riveting fucking sorry. Well, that was this. Is
so did you ever take to this?
Explain how does someone? For those listening at home, that is probably the most boring. I'm sorry, you will not get that 2 minutes back in your life. Explain to me how someone who talks about nonsense fights and nonsense flavors, how do you survive? How does your marriage just continue? What do you talk about when you're alone?
I'm quite enchanting.
What do you talk about?
Well, he's probably eased up over the years. I mean,
we haven't discussed sperm whales since that day.
And given that their union at Ormond College, they were probably both heavily intoxicated, I imagine.
No,
really?
Not on the first date. The first of our meetings.
You were heavily intoxicated.
Yes, but not our first date.
Who approached who? Did Jem saunter over, or did you?
She was giving me a bit of a look.
Okay, so she gave you the come hither.
Came over.
Right.
Do you know this guy finished a bottle of Johnny Walker? Was it Johnny Walker?
No, it was bourbon.
And then proceeded to phone his sister.
No,
and
in
say,
less than
"I did
an
it for you."
hour. In less than an hour, we finished it. And the winner of the competition finished in 8 minutes.
Yeah.
A bottle. In 8 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I am.
Well,
It's quick.
You're easily shocked.
He is.
What happened to him?
It's the sheltered childhood.
He died.
Did he?
No, of course he didn't die.
Well, you fucking
He
even...
passed out. He was sober for about 20 minutes. And he was telling people what he'd done and then he collapsed. Out cold. And I had to be forced to throw up.
Wow.
What about you, Ben?
I passed out, vomited all over myself, urinated into a bush, then fell into that bush, and then got hosed down and deposited at Jem's door after me going out for maybe 10 days.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
God, Gemma, what is... Just for those listening at home, I don't know if any of you are in relationships, but surely none of you went through the turmoil. Well...
Wherever they may be.
Turn off now.
It's not
car travel.
How does that survive?
It's this guy.
And if you could see this guy, it is just a buttons, just fat feet, plump duck, and somehow and somehow just has some effectiveness on the footy field. You wouldn't think so. He's quite deft, and it's apt, I should say, not deft, apt.
No, deft is probably the right term.
Deft is better than apt.
And even on the squash court, it's like watching...
Well, I definitely taught Barb's a lesson.
It's watching Dumbo literally
I did.
do an obstacle course and somehow succeed. It is absolutely unbelievable. How? What?
I know what you're doing before you do it. So I anticipate, I move early. So it looks like I'm fast, but I'm actually just anticipatory.
Yeah?
Again, another made-up word.
I wasn't.
You'll hear a lot of those.
I used dynamicism
Dynamicism.
with Barb's. He did not have a bar of it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And what is it? Dynamism.
Dynamism. Correct.
Not dynamicism.
No, but it's the sort of word BT would use.
Boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy, wow, we interesting Christian name.
Wow. Jeez. Well, on that note,
Shall we move on to football?
Well, then we're really narrowing our audience.
We are
right now. It's a family show.
okay,
That's true.
that's true.
That's taken on board.
Well, I'd like to understand why. I mean, right now we're in a good position in sport. We've got tennis, we've got AFL, we've got Formula 1. Explain to me...
Well, for those listening at home and in the car, it's currently January. If you forget, this could be listened at any time of the year. So they may not have tennis.
If at all.
They may not have tennis, cricket, or anything.
Skiing?
Well, we love our winter sports on this show.
Just,
You do,
I'll tell you what, there's this funny story I've got to tell the listeners, as well as Barb's. So, Ben and I were and a few other friends, were at a ski holiday in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And
A lodge, or
If you will.
if you will, if you will,
Yes.
if you will. There's nothing to will, but if you will. And no, a friend of ours was in a funk, and I'm not sure the people listening at home has ever been in a situation where their friends have been in an unexplainable funk. It cannot be explained. Deep, like Matrix, like Inception deep.
Had this friend, perchance, been to Hong Kong recently? Potentially. Okay.
And so Ben decided to do some ridiculous thing. I mean, Ben's just showing me a 9 years of friendship on Facebook with a glass. But Ben, to his credit, decided to go down on a half pipe. And I know we're in the last few minutes of this podcast, but on a half pipe. And this is a guy who's never been on a skateboard before. So as you can imagine, he tipped the edge of the half pipe and didn't even...
As he would with his enormous weight.
Didn't even leave forward to get two wheels on the half pipe. He stepped off.
Yeah, well, he's always been a boundary breaker.
Well, explain to me how a person who can't even literally lean forward be apt at AFL and squash.
Please carry on. And what happened on this half pipe?
Well, he subsequently, I think, chipped a bone in his thumb, of which he still suffers today. Oh my god. Of which you're listening to clicking right now. Explain to me how... I just don't understand. And then there's you, Barbs, who's a specimen that somehow is so afraid of contact.
Of contact?
Yeah, I think of AFL, just because of, your shoulders and the sandy vag and all that sort of stuff. And
all the sand.
Yeah, and then there's here. And for those listeners, I can only think of like Whipper-esque sort of comparisons.
Whipper-esque?
You know Whipper? Fancy Whipper?
Ah, Fancy Whipper, yeah.
Yeah, someone who,
sure.
he's constantly made fun of because of some tardiness and lightness. And Ben's not fat. He's just solid with a bit of podge. And
Well, that's generally what you like. I mean, you do enjoy the bit of the chub and the bit of the dub.
I do. I do.
I mean,
enjoy,
that's a totally different context, guys.
I do.
I'm not averse to divesting into that.
I'd like to.
Let's focus on that for a minute.
Let's focus on that.
I'd like
Let's
to
focus
at
on aspirational dating.
I'd like.
Let's focus on aspirational dating. Would you date a woman for money?
Or for a house.
Or for a house? Or just,
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I think you...
No, I wouldn't. But please, can you tell me what okay? And this is
just a taste of the good life.
This is the final element of our podcast because I know it's getting to a crescendo.
Crescendo.
Okay, crescendo. Key elements of a woman that you look at.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to understand what they are and why.
So I look at the eyes and the soul.
All right, Barbs, what is your truthful answer on that, please?
We look at the arse and the feet.
And the feet.
And the feet.
Well, okay, I don't know I keep saying this is the last, but this is a riveting subject. Let's talk about the most innocuous reasons, yet ironically enough what most people will probably agree to, that you have stopped dating someone for.
Ben, kick us off, my friend.
The shed, Ben? No, what, Ben?
I don't know.
Innocuous.
Was it price face?
Bad feet, big ears, glasses, fat feet.
Eat food off your plate? Did she constantly correct your grammar?
Alright, well,
Was she just a beautiful fool?
You've given me really good options here.
I certainly have.
Barbs, I'll take it to you because
That's probably a good idea.
silence is never a good thing on the
Science is perfect for podcast.
Science is death for a
I've
podcast,
got
it really
nothing.
is.
Yeah, it is. So what are you, mate?
Sideburns, I think.
Sideburns.
Sideburns.
A female sideburn.
A female sideburn. It just extended a little far. I wasn't comfortable with that. Didn't know what to make of it. And into things.
What about general hair? So you know how there's like some peach fudge between the eyebrows?
Yep, well, this
On
is
the
very interesting.
back of the neck.
No, not the back of the neck.
I've
That's very interesting and a subject for
she was
potentially
Greek
another
and Italian
podcast.
and
But the thing that women don't really recognise is an issue is the hair on the upper lip.
Oh,
Now this is a real problem, and this perception that it can be bleached and forgot about is nonsense.
So what do you think they should be doing?
Well, I think it needs to be removed by a
What,
laser.
Laser or wax? Wax, no?
No, because wax it'll grow back deeper. It'll grow back thicker
Thicker.
and darker.
Talk.
And we don't need that.
No, I don't think
I'd
that's
like to
true.
see it dealt with
Well,
once and for all.
I don't think waxing does provide a return that's deeper and fuller.
I think most
I'm
women would
sensing. I'm
disagree.
sensing personal experience.
But
here.
absolutely,
Well, where have you waxed, Ben?
the back wax.
Oh.
And it hasn't done that.
No, it's
Because
good. No, it
the
gets
general
long.
perception
if you
is
shave,
that it does.
If you shave it, it gets.
I've even been told waxing, that's why they don't wax it, is because it comes in fuller.
Well, I
darker.
anecdotally will tell you it has a different effect.
Really? Okay, very interesting.
Wow.
Is it acceptable, the hair on the upper lip?
Well, I mean, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. But how many? What percentage of women do? I mean, I've seen many good-looking women ruined. by this. Ruined. I can't do it.
But would
I don't
you
want
like
to be
it-
tickled when I kiss
Would
a
you?
woman.
Oh, Jesus. And in the sweat bead. But explain to me.
That moustache.
Sorry, it's
The
not
milk
appropriate.
moustache, the foam moustache. I don't want any.
Would you liken that to bad feet
I would
like-
say it's far worse. It's right in my face.
In your face.
in the face?
In the face.
Literally. On the face.
On the face. And it's quite incredible that these well put together women are not well groomed.
Well, I've got a makeup queen who'd be easily to attend.
What's her name?
No, the name shall not be named.
Well, I recently went out with a girl who had a butterfly tattoo on her neck.
Or
Yeah.
if you're listening at home, you know who she is. Yep.
And very well put together, not well groomed. And is that acceptable
Well,
in any capacity?
Now I want this to go very viral.
so this certain person was picked up quite often. We went out to an establishment in Sydney,
Yeah, we did.
and I would like to have known what these guys.
Would you ever have guessed this?
I wouldn't
Guess
have.
this one?
You wouldn't.
Because immaculate
Absolutely
around the body,
immaculate.
and I reckon. Well, how about this? Immaculate because perhaps the hair growth
In other regions.
in other regions it's sort of summed up into one region. Perhaps in other words, she didn't have a lot of hair growth elsewhere, and therefore it all sort of summed up.
Was this sort of like completely untamed?
Completely untamed.
Can't be completely.
As close to.
As in never ever tamed ever?
Oh, maybe it was tamed at some point, but I really, I've come to view it as a female power move. This is who I am. Hear me roar. And I'm not interested.
But what feedback would you get from a man if that happened? No interest. Like if you weren't groomed, what would she have said?
Well, there's an interesting double standard there, I think.
No doubt.
So we know Ben is bald eagled, and that's his choice. He's made a lot of life decisions I don't agree with.
We've got a
But
friend who's gone in detail as to how to shave the old foliage.
really,
Yeah, the old
What was his advice?
the old John Thomas. Well, he advised to extend and go hard first before you do the shave.
Interesting.
Because once you get the wrinkle, then you miss.
You need a tight surface.
You do need a tight
Taut surface.
a taut surface.
And a shaft that is taut brings everything else into tautness. That's the theory.
You can't get
So really,
a,
the core tenant is taut.
you can't get a
Taut.
you can't get a scrotum that is taut.
Well, you get a tauteur with a rigid shaft.
And that allows you to see the full extent of the landscape
I'm assuming-
with which you're working.
And also work on that landscape.
And you use an electric shaver, I'm assuming, as opposed
Yeah,
to
it's
manual.
like think about it like a canvas. When
Yep.
you're putting a canvas onto a frame,
You
need it
unroll
taut.
it.
You need it to be taut, otherwise you can't paint.
Interesting.
Have you done the old undercarriage,
The gooch.
the gooch? But the bit extends from the lower back all the way up to
Can you say
the
that?
belly button.
No.
Just one movement.
Just thin strip. No.
Absolutely not.
No?
No.
Do you reckon that those people would appreciate it?
Oh,
Smoothness?
they might do. But
mine
it's just not a price I'm willing to pay.
Mine is ragged.
Have you
And
gone
it's-
there? Have you gone there?
Well, no, but
Maybe she can do it for you. Some girl could do it for you.
yeah, I know who you're
So
referring
if they're
to.
in the cosmetic industry.
Yeah,
Well, that's right. She could use tweezers and pluck them out.
McQueen. But explain to me, but nonetheless, It's a cool breeze.
What?
I mean,
What's a cool breeze?
if you were to shave it off.
Have you done that?
No, but if it's quite if it's, I know this is getting a bit gruesome.
It's alright. It's over. The family show is done.
It's just I find it. I've never done it, but I can't help but think that it's necessary.
It's necessary.
You haven't done it, then do it.
Well, you think it's necessary if you received comments. Why do you feel it's necessary?
Some people have said
because if I
your
find
Gucci's
it
are looking
on a girl,
would you comment?
So what you're saying is, right now, it's not mandatory for men, but you're saying that in 5 to 10 years, it will be.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there won't be a skerrick of hair.
No,
Down in that region.
I think it'll come back, and hair will be back in.
Like,
I don't agree.
wow.
You think we're forever just going to be smooth people?
Well, in that region, I think so, because people want to see everything that's around there, and I think people want to move towards hygiene.
Why has it taken so long for society, thousands, if not millions of years, to come to this idea that we need to be smooth?
The cold, I think.
First of all, that was a very quick response.
I did not factor in the temperature.
The temperature. We live in a warm climate.
Oh, the climate change. Climate change.
Climate change. This is all in climate change.
Is there an elephant in the room? Like, so the pubage doesn't have anything to, like, when you're going down there, that has nothing to do with anything. It's about temperature. That's what you're telling me. It is temperature.
Temperature's why it's taken us so long.
Temperature rather than
the warming climb.
temperature.
The warming climb
Over pubis in the orifice.
has a direct effect, and I think you'll find if you were to run a multilinear regression, you would find an extreme correlation between climate change and foliage downstairs.
Climate change and foliage.
Mm-hmm.
Ben's just written a note to me. We're reaching the end of our podcast. Sorry, he's using his foot to nestle my teat. But, and you think that's a joke. But nonetheless, we're reaching the end. And I really hope...
Maybe we can have one final thought each.
That's actually not a good idea.
So go, Dad.
Good. No, you start, Bubs.
Alright. Sweet potato. Seeing too much of it. Okay?
Wow!
There's this obsession with a lack of carbs in the diet.
Hmm?
I see people continuously under-energized. And I blame the sweet potato directly.
Alright, Ben?
That's just thrown me. I love sweet potato, and it's just been bad-mouthed on a podcast.
Oh, please have an original thought.
I like pumpkin. Pumpkin
Is that your thought?
is
I like pumpkin.
nutty, can be versatile, and yeah, pumpkin.
Interesting. Dick Rayner?
I'd like to say that I mean, I understand that science...
I feel like you're... Can I interject?
Oh, okay.
Please do.
do.
I think that your thought should be about sexual toys in the bedroom.
That was a squeak on my cushion. Sorry, what was that?
Sexual toys in the bedroom. Dick, I think we'd all like to hear from you on that
Well,
subject.
stop it. Oh, okay.
And we're back.
And we're back. And we're back. And Mum was like, stop it. So, yeah, so right. So the final thing is that I think that sexual toys should be used absolutely in the bedroom. It is no reflection on sexual competence.
Or competence.
Or competence. Or size.
Well, it has a factor in size.
It doesn't have a factor in size. And so, and in any toys, I think it is appreciated by the female fan. So on that final note,
Pumpkin, sweet potato,
pumpkin,
sex
sweet
toys.
potatoes, and sex toys.
Take that with
I
you.
bid you adieu. And
Adieu.
adieu.
Gosh.
Adieu. And until the next podcast of Bubs. No, oh, before you go, sorry, Ben, just supposed to stop. I want to wish Ben a happy and safe trip to Paris next year.
Agreed.
And until the next podcast for
And
next month.
Ben, Gemma, and Shim's year abroad.
And what's our
Sure,
final
that'd be
statement?
fantastic.
What's our final statement?
You've been with Ben, Bubs, and Dan.
Ben, Bubs, and Dan.